Hi, my name is Carla Miller, and I'm the career advisor for the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology at UW Green Bay. Today, I'm going to be sharing information about resume writing with a specific focus on students who are applying for healthcare, medical related positions, or to those types of graduate programs. At the end, I'll also have information for students who might be applying for the Bellin and Purveya Summer Internship Programs, the Pre-Med internships. So that way you have an understanding of what that essay should look like, as well as how to obtain your unofficial transcripts. So information I'll be sharing today includes the resume writing basics, as well as some samples that show you how you can format and content you include for those medical and health related resumes. I'll also talk about resources to help you with writing your resume, as well as then those tips that I mentioned for the internship for the essays and transcripts. Okay, so what is a resume? A resume is a well-organized, concise overview that summarizes your skills, education, and experience. It's no longer than 2 pages in length. This is especially important because often we confuse resumes and curriculum vitae or CVs. I will talk about CVs a little bit later on. But for a resume, it's no longer than 2 pages. When we write our resume, we want it to be targeted for our field, that position we're interested in, that graduate program we're looking at. So we focus on our most recent and relevant skills, age, education, experience. I will say this several times throughout the presentation, but I really advise students against using templates. We might like the look of them at times, or it's easy to just plug in our information, but so many of them just really are not designed for college students. It may put your education in the wrong spot. It may have you put in a professional summary where we're not really there yet. So my recommendations start with a blank Word document. Do the single no spacing format. And that way it allows you to get your content in and focus on that content. Then after we have that set, we can look at maybe putting some design elements, again, whether it's bolding, a hint of color, or some lines to make it a little more creative. But again, really focus on that content over that creativity. So resume content, when we break down the different sections, these are going to depend based on your specific background. So all students should have on their resume the heading, which has your name, contact info, your education, and experience. Now, what that experience is can vary greatly, and we'll talk about that shortly. Sections that your resume might include could have an objective, it might have coursework or skills. If you're pre-med and let's say you got your CNA license, so that way you get those patient contact hours, we'd have certifications on there. And some of you have been really involved in campus organizations or off-campus organizations. That might be a section. Again, what sections appear will all depend upon your unique skills, experiences, and your ultimate goals. Okay, the heading. This is really straightforward. Your name should always be placed first. There are some templates that don't list the name first. So name is always first, followed by contact info. Now you'll see the example on the left. That's someone who did go ahead and put their street address, phone, email, but the person on the right just put city, state, phone, email. Minimally, we want name, phone, and email. That way, an employer, grad school always knows how to reach you. You can choose whether or not you want to include a street address or just your city and state. Okay, objective. I bring this up because, again, different resume styles will have objectives. They may have something where it's a professional summary. What an objective does, if you include one, is sets the tone for the purpose of your resume. If you're uploading to a job board where you don't know who might see the resume, then an objective can be helpful. Seeking a part-time position in a healthcare setting, seeking opportunities in patient care. If you are applying for a position, though, you're going to be including a resume and a cover letter. Or For grad school, it's your resume and an essay. So we really don't need the objective because the cover letter and essay will take care of that for us. Please avoid using professional summaries unless you actually have professional experience in the field. So, what I mean by that is if my goal is to be a nurse and I've been an RN for, gosh, 3, 4 years, that's professional experience. And I'm just completing my BSN. But if my goal is to go on for physical therapy, for instance, well, I probably don't have a professional summary because I haven't been working as a full-time physical therapist. So really, really be careful with those summaries because oftentimes they lead us down a path we shouldn't go. Education. So this is a section that will be on everyone's resume. We start with our most recent education. So currently you're a UW Green Bay student. We start with the name of the university, the degree, and our graduation date or anticipated graduation date. The degree is not the same as a major. So degrees we offer here at UW Green Bay are the Associate of Arts and Science, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Business Administration. We have our Masters of Science programs, our EDD programs. So that degree is that associate, bachelor's, master's, doctorates. The major, that's different. That's the human biology, chemistry. So, and then may have a minor, our emphasis areas. Those are things that we would then list with the major. Our GPA, if you have a strong GPA that you want to market to a school, you want to market to an employer, you can definitely list that on your resume. We recommend, though, do not extend past the 2 decimal places. So I know on the transcript it shows 3 or 4 decimal places, keep it to 2. Some employers will joke it looks like we're trying too hard. So if I have a 3982, I'm going to list 398 slash 4.00. We put that 4.00 or 4.0 behind it to show we're on a 4-point scale and not a 5-point scale. I have a note here. After your freshman year, you do not need to include high school anymore. You might have involvement, experience, things like that that show up on your resume later that relate to high school. But for the purposes of that education section, once you're in college, it's really no longer relevant. Okay, so here's 2 examples how you might format your education. So if I've only been a student here at GB, this is how I would format. So we've got the UW Green Bay. First, you see it's spelled out. We do follow it with the city and state. We are a 4-campus institution, so it just clarifies which campus we're part of. Our degree, so here we see it's a Bachelor of Science degree. I expect to graduate in May 2027. I have a major in human biology with a health science emphasis, and there's my GPA. Now, if I had maybe done my CNA license, whether it's through TC, through your high school, that's how you'd format it in sample number 2. Okay, so education's pretty straightforward. If you have other schools, just real quickly, if you do have other schools you attended maybe 1 semester, 2 semesters, didn't get a degree, we may or may not even put those on your resume. We'll focus really on the courses or the education where you had the majority of your courses related to your major. Okay, experience. This is where it can take a lot of different avenues. I recommend that students write down, type in a document, whatever's your method of organizing information, all of your different experiences, work experiences, volunteer experiences. We list our experiences with our most recent and relevant first. So it's a reverse chronological. By focusing on those which are most related, it allows us to pull things into different types of sections. So I might have a section called related healthcare experience, or just related experience, shadowing experiences, volunteer experiences. So it's neat because we can alter what we call those sections to what's most relevant, what's the most applicable heading for those experiences we have. So I'll be showing you some samples here shortly that'll explain that a little bit better. We always begin our bullets with action verbs. So we don't use the word I on our resume because it's all about you. You might think of the word I at the beginning of a bullet, which will help you then make sure you have the correct verb tense. So I coordinated or I coordinate versus coordinating. We don't use the ing verbs. For the resume, as I talked about at the beginning, it's a concise document, 1 to 2 pages. So therefore, we don't need to put everything we've ever done. We may just focus on what's most relevant. Some of you, that might include everything. Maybe you only have 1 or 2 work experiences, 1 club, a couple classes you want to highlight. Or for others, you may have to streamline based upon what's most relevant. So highlighting health-related experiences. So since we're talking about that pre-med, pre-health resume, how do we pull our related experiences to the forefront to show those and showcase those experiences versus other non-related? So we think about experiences you might have. So heavy in that medical, the pre-med, pre-PA areas, they really look at that patient contact experience. So I would definitely highlight roles that are CNA, EMT, a caregiver, phlebotomist, again, anything that gives you that direct patient contact. I might highlight my research, where I give the example here of the tiny earth. If you did the tiny earth research with presenting at the symposium, maybe it's a faculty-led research. So you're a research assistant, whether it's 1 semester, multiple semesters, or it could have been a summer research program. Some of you have been involved in volunteering, where you might have worked at a clinic volunteering. During COVID, we had students that would help with vaccination clinics. Sometimes, again, it's related directly. Sometimes it's, I call adjacent. I might have volunteered at an Easter Seals camp working with kids with special needs. Is that directly healthcare? Not always, but there could have health elements to it. Additionally, we have students who are looking at programs where you may be suggested or required to do job shadowing or observations. So those could be documented. So I put this note, there's some programs like PA, they're going to put higher emphasis on that direct patient care. So if that's the case, we want those highlighted first over things that don't have that non-patient care. So again, look at your program so you really know what they're looking for. So for our experiences, we'll include that organization's name, the location, which is city, state. We don't need address or zip code. And then we'll put that position title. So if we had, for instance, research assistant or volunteer, and the dates that we were employed or that we worked with that organization. The responsibilities, accomplishments, this is where we're going to use that action verbs to lead off our bullets and descriptions. So again, we're not going to put responsibilities included, duties included. We're going to go right to plan, present, coordinated, provided. So I put this little slide before I start showing examples, again, just to emphasize these are samples, to just give you insights how you might organize things. Are all of these sections going to be something you put on your resume? No, because not all of you have those same experiences. So again, there's samples that'll help you understand how you might emphasize and highlight these on your resume if appropriate. So the first one is just general work experience. So I'm a student, I've worked at Starbucks, I've worked at Great Bay Beach, I operated rides at Bay Beach for a couple summers. This is how I would simply do an experience section. So we see our employer with a city, state, our titles and dates, and then we have those verb tenses. You'll see in this case, I used adverbs to then accurately prepare. So I communicated effectively with a wide range of customers. So we see online, the first one, Starbucks, is a present job. We have present tense verbs. The seasonal ride operator, past position, past tense verbs. Sample number 2, this is where we hit on our patient care experiences. So for healthcare experience, there's someone who was a certified nursing assistant, and they also work at Starbucks, but we don't put the Starbucks in with that same section as our CNA role. So this is an example how we can separate out relevant experience from other experience. And it could be important to show in an organization, an employer, grad school, hey, I'm balancing a full-time class schedule with a part-time role or two part-time roles or a full-time role and part-time role. So it again shows that, hey, I'm balancing things. I've got a strong GPA and I have these experiences. Sample 3, here's how research experience can get formatted. So again, maybe your title is research assistant, maybe it's an independent research project, a team project. So do clarify if you're working with a team, if it's something independent. Again, some individuals will put the name of the faculty member in there, and that's okay, you can. Just realize that, again, that some organizations will know who that person is, some might not. So you'll see here they go into detail versus just general conducted research. They actually get down into what was the actual skills you used. Like I said, talking about cell culture experiments, Western blots, so instrumentation. This is where your faculty mentor, the person you're doing the research with, that'll be helpful to have them look at this information because they'll be able to give you a good idea of, oh, maybe this is the content you should include. So as you have questions about those types of experiences, definitely rely on those supervisors to look those over with you. So job shadowing / observations. So here's two different examples. I show these differently. So some students may do like rotations among one organization. So like with the first one, Belen had the student shadow different people in their sports medicine team versus someone who shadowed physicians, but they were at 3 different clinics or hospitals. So instead of listing Purvey Health and a bullet, Bellin Health and a bullet, Children's Hospital and a bullet, given I was just doing shadowing, I can just put one bullet there to summarize. Again, our goal is to be concise while being complete. And last but not least, sample 5 is volunteering. So here's an example, someone who had helped with a vaccination clinic. Another individual, one of our students who volunteered back home with their EMT service. They have their EMT certification and they volunteer when they're home for summers and during breaks and things like that. So back to that earlier statement, those different sections will just depend upon what you have in your background and what you're going to market on your resume. Okay, skills. So skills can be listed to show competencies you have, abilities you have that might not show up somewhere else. So it might not be, if I'm looking at research, well, in my research experience, I went into techniques and instrumentation. Well, then I don't really need a skills section. But let's say through my different labs and courses, I have these skill sets. I just haven't been able to use them in an internship. Then I would have a skills section. It can show other skill sets like, okay, are you bilingual? Are you fluent in other languages? Technical skills you might have, whether it's computer skills, other skills outside of the lab experiences with research, sampling techniques, things like that. Involvement. So we have students, some students, because of work schedule, things don't get a chance to get involved. That's okay. But if you do have involvement, those are things you can highlight on your resume, whether it's a student organization, professional organizations based upon your major or emphasis or interest area, as well as off-campus groups. Maybe you volunteer with Big Brother, Big Sister. You serve as a big. Maybe you help with a special populations night at the YMCA, or you are a coach, a volunteer coach. So there's different ways that you can highlight those different experiences again on your resume. We will still, again, maybe have 5 or 6 different things. Maybe we need to pare it down to 2 or 3 to fit onto your resume. Then it becomes which involvements are most important to you and which ones might be most related. So here's an example how someone might format their involvement section. So we see a person who is involved with the Pre-Med PA Club. Now they're a member. If I was an officer, I could definitely list my officer role there with the dates and what I did as an officer. Excuse me. And then this person's also a STEM ambassador, so they list what they do in that role. So earlier I had the list of different sections someone might have. Some common ones I'll have students ask about. So certifications I mentioned, those could be things, especially when we look at the medical healthcare areas, first aid, CPR, AED. Maybe I've been a lifeguard that I've got water safety. So there could be other areas that we have certifications. With honors, awards, and recognition, again, we're going to focus on college level, but maybe I have a scholarship that I was awarded or an honor I was awarded through our department or through an employer. If you've had a high GPA, do you need a separate section for your high honor, honors dean's list? Not necessarily. We might highlight it next to your GPA, but if you have other recognition, then we might group it into that section. So that's something your career advisor and you can discuss to look at what best works with your content and your experiences. Some students have military experience, and it just depends how you want to list that. It could be a whole separate section called military experience. If maybe I did some things, medic type related, well, then I might have it as a related experience. So it just depends upon what I did and what our goal is in marketing that to an employer or grad school. So here's where I had mentioned earlier about CVs. So a curriculum vitae is an extended version of a resume. We see it a lot in the field of academics. So again, if you asked any of your faculty members, they have a CV because they have extensive research and projects and things like that. Um, so typically most college students don't necessarily have enough content for a CV or they don't have those experience. Some do, some definitely do. So it's a discussion again you can have with your career advisor to see if that is relevant for you. My piece of advice, and we do have CV information on our website, the career planning website, for programs, read the directions carefully. If a college, an employer asks for a resume, do not submit a document longer than 2 pages. Keep it to that 2-page resume. So for that third bullet, I just noted that for the pre-med internship, we're telling students no longer than a 2-page resume. So we do not need a CV, we just need that simple resume. So just some general things in wrapping up the resume part of the discussion is we don't use pronouns on the resume, so no I, 2 pages max. Again, avoid those templates at all costs. You might like the format, great. Then what you can do is do that plain Word document like I talked about, and then add some design elements in to replicate what a template might show. And really focus on what's relevant, recent skills, education, experience. Have different people look at your resume too to make sure you catch any spelling errors or to sometimes it's a word that is not spelled wrong, but it's the wrong word. I meant to put I'm a very conscientious person, but maybe I put conscious, which is definitely different than conscientious. The word customer, I've seen it get replaced from autocorrect to costumer, a person who works with costumes. So you want to make sure that is as accurate as possible. Grammar is correct, spelling's correct, the whole bit. So you can set up an appointment with your career advisor, your assigned career advisor, for a resume review. To set up that appointment, we highly recommend using Navigate because it links with our calendars. So you will get our availability, up-to-date availability, versus if you email back and forth, we can't guarantee those times will still be open. So again, if we're emailing back and forth over the course of a day, Yeah, somebody could have slipped in and taken that appointment time that you really wanted. You can meet with your career advisor in person or virtually. So for in-person appointments, you will be told to bring a printed copy of your resume with you. For virtual appointments, you will email it typically at least one working day in advance. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to shift into discussion about the pre-med internship application. So for the pre-med Prevea, I see it says here prevent, for the Bellin Prevea pre-med internship application, you'll be asked to submit your resume. You'll then be asked to provide a one-page essay, 12-point font, single space. And what we want to see is how will you benefit from this summer pre-med program? So your goal is to convey that interest in healthcare and why you should be considered for the internship. So one page, that's not really a lot of space to go into, a lot of details, but think about why this is important to you. How is it going to assist you with your career goals, your career in medicine, your career in healthcare, grad school applications? So I'm going to take you through just a really quick general process. If you've never written an essay before, um, some of it's going to look very similar to maybe what you've done for assignments. Think of it as that same concept of as an assignment or project. So you're going to brainstorm what are ideas you have that answer that question that we've posed. And again, whether you make notes on your computer, you make notes on a piece of paper to organize your thoughts, and then write that first draft. Edit and refine it, have people look at it. So that way, again, you're making sure you have the clear thoughts, optimal grammar is because you don't want a bunch of errors to be in your document because it just reflects poorly upon you. If you're trying to tell someone I have great attention to detail, but I have 5 spelling errors, that kind of shatters that illusion of having great attention to detail. Give yourself time now. The deadline is towards the end of the month, but again, don't wait to the last minute because then you're rushing this process and might not market yourself well. So you want to have a chance to edit and refine it a few times before you submit it so you know that finished product effectively markets you. Tips for effective essays, be genuine. Too many times students try to come up with something catchy or they feel like, oh, I have to use big words or things that I normally wouldn't say in conversation. So really, really share with us why do you want to pursue a career in healthcare? Tell that story. How did you become interested? Again, it's not going to be as in-depth as your pre-med apps or your pre-health applications. But again, well, was there something that instigated that career idea of medicine? You know, a lot of times students might consider using AI to help, and that's okay. You might need it to, help me reword this phrase or reword this sentence. But AI, you lose a lot of that personality. So again, the faculty that are reviewing these essays, most of them know you. They have you in classes. So again, they're going to kind of get a really good sense of, is this really how this person talks, interacts? Avoid cliches. One of the dangers in healthcare medicine is, and it makes sense, we want to help people. Most of us want to help people. But how can we word that differently? How can we go more detailed about helping people with certain conditions, certain situations? What is it that you want to contribute to that field above and beyond just that basic of helping people? And whenever you do essays, just like your homework assignments, follow directions. Again, proofread so you can put your best foot forward, but follow the directions. A lot of grad schools down the road, you're going to have to do character limits. They may have several different questions you're answering. So really make sure you address those because it shows that you can follow directions, which is important in a lot of fields. That ask for feedback, just like with a resume, have people look at your documents. They may catch something, when we write an essay, we're so engrossed and ingrained in it because it's about us. We miss sometimes those little things that maybe aren't clear. Do be respectful of other individuals' time. So whether you're asking a faculty member or you're trying to set up an appointment with a career advisor, don't wait to the last minute. Just because you waited before the day before the deadline, that's not fair to put that on someone and say, hey, I know this is last minute, but can you quick look at this for me? Plan ahead. You know about this well enough in advance, just like down the road with your grad school essays and applications. Be mindful and plan ahead. And provide the individual with the essay prompt so they know what you were supposed to write about. Some resources, maybe writing isn't your strong suit or you don't feel as confident. Check out the Learning Center and get writing support through their resources, and it is free. Talk with somebody who you've job shadowed, that's a mentor, your research supervisor. They're all great resources to look at your documents and resume essay. A faculty mentor, faculty member you've had for classes that you feel connected with, and again, your assigned career advisor. So you have several individuals you can tap to look and review, discuss your documents. Quickly with unofficial transcripts. So for the pre-med application, we do ask for transcripts, but it's unofficial. So you don't have to go through the formal process of submitting, paying money, getting a PDF. You can simply log into SIS and pull up your transcripts. Now, there's two different ways you might have to approach this. Some of you, if you right click on the screen, let's say you're on your desktop, right click on the screen. If when you do the print, you'll be able to select your destination as this PDF and the layout is landscape. And it 9 times out of 10 seems to format properly where everything's aligned, where you can see your grades next to your classes, and then you can simply save as PDF. Sometimes it's not working that way. So then what you may have to do is set it up as a Word document and then save it as a PDF. So if you set up a Word document, landscape with no spacing format, that'll give you your single spacing, tight text, and then copy and paste the transcript from SAS into the document. Do check the formatting depending how you copy paste. Sometimes it'll be a train wreck, sometimes it will format properly. So again, you don't need to request them from the registrar. You can access those through SIS. So final thoughts. So the selection process, like I said, in grad schools, applications for internships can be competitive. So you want to make sure you plan ahead. You do so you're putting your best foot forward. It's not a last minute cramming everything in, so you really market yourself effectively. Follow those instructions and make sure you market yourself effectively, really noting that sincere interest in the field, what you've done related to the field, and how your skills, education, experience will help back up that interest. So that concludes the presentation. I encourage you, again, meet with your assigned career advisor, have that discussion, look at the resources we have on our career planning website, and we wish you the best of luck with your applications.